It was late evening, the kind of dusk where the world feels painted in shadows of regret and memory. The city streets glowed with the blurred reflections of neon signs on rain-soaked pavement. Inside his car, Daniel sat waiting at the red light, his fingers tapping absently on the steering wheel, his mind preoccupied with deadlines, meetings, and the ordinary chaos of life. That's when he heard it, a faint knock on the glass, fragile, hesitant, almost ashamed. He turned his head, expecting a stranger, but the sight froze him to the core. Standing outside, her hair tangled and damp, her clothes worn and stained, was a face he had once known better than his own. Her lips trembled as she whispered through the glass, "Spare some change?" In that moment, the air in his chest turned to stone. This wasn't just anyone. This was Emily, the woman who had shattered his heart into pieces years ago, the woman he once thought he'd spend forever with. And now, she was unrecognizable, standing there like a ghost from the past, asking him for pocket change. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and the power of second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Hopeful Stories. Your support helps us keep telling stories that touch hearts and remind us all of the humanity within us. Daniel's hand froze halfway to his wallet. His mind replayed the old memories he had buried so carefully. Nights under the stars, promises whispered on park benches, the laughter they once shared in crowded cafes. Then came the betrayal, the heartbreak that nearly destroyed him. He had worked years to move on, to heal, to forget. And yet here she was, not as the radiant woman he once loved, but as a shadow of herself. He rolled the window down slowly, the cold night air rushing in, carrying with it the scent of damp asphalt and the faintest trace of her perfume. Or perhaps it was just his memory betraying him. She wouldn't look him in the eyes. She just held out her trembling hand, her voice almost breaking. "Please, anything helps." Daniel's heart pounded. He didn't know whether to feel pity, anger, or sorrow. For years, he had imagined this moment. Not exactly like this, but some version of running into her again. He thought maybe she would look happy, successful, perhaps even regretful. But not this. She was broken, and her brokenness stirred something in him he hadn't felt in a long time. Compassion. He reached for his wallet, but his hand stopped on a photograph he kept tucked behind his license. A picture of his late mother who always told him, "Son, life is a way of humbling us all. If you ever see someone fall, don't kick them down further. Extend your hand, because you never know when you'll need someone else's hand too." With a deep breath, he pulled out not just a few coins, but a folded bill, and handed it to her. Her eyes flickered for a brief second, and in that flicker he saw recognition. She gasped softly, finally lifting her gaze. And when their eyes met, the years dissolved like melting ice. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking with disbelief. He swallowed hard, the taste of old wounds rushing back. He wanted to drive away, to escape the flood of emotions, but something inside him wouldn't let him. Instead, he unlocked the passenger door. She hesitated, then slowly slid into the seat, clutching the bill as if it were her lifeline. The silence inside the car was suffocating. He stole glances at her, noticing the hollowness in her cheeks, the way her hands shook, the exhaustion etched into her face. This wasn't just someone down on her luck. This was someone who had fallen to the very bottom. And yet, beneath the scars of life, he could still see glimpses of the girl he once loved. Emily broke the silence first. With tears brimming in her eyes, she confessed pieces of her story. After they had parted ways, she chased dreams that were nothing but illusions, falling in with people who promised her love and adventure, but only brought her pain. One wrong choice led to another, until everything spiraled. She lost her job, her home, her dignity. She had burned bridges with her family, and pride had kept her from reaching out when she still had a chance. And now, she was here, reduced to knocking on strangers' car windows for change. Daniel's chest ached as he listened. He wanted to hate her for the years of silence, for the way she had left him shattered, but what he saw wasn't the woman who broke his heart. It was someone utterly human, fragile, and desperate. And against all odds, he still cared. The drive back to his apartment felt unreal. He didn't fully know why he was bringing her there, only that leaving her on the streets wasn't something he could live with. His conscience, his mother's words, and his own buried love all demanded he give her at least a moment of safety. In the warmth of his home, she sat quietly, staring at the floor like she didn't belong. He brought her food, watched her eat as though she hadn't in days, and felt something shift inside him. For the first time, he saw that heartbreak wasn't the end of their story. It was just a painful chapter. Days turned into weeks. He offered her a place to sleep until she could get back on her feet. He helped her connect with resources, guided her to counseling, and encouraged her to rebuild piece by piece. At first, she resisted, ashamed to accept help from the very man she once wounded. But Daniel's patience wore down her walls. He didn't push. He simply reminded her, through small acts of kindness, that she was still worthy of another chance. Through the quiet nights, their conversations deepened. She spoke of regret, of the nights she cried herself to sleep, of the pride that had kept her from ever apologizing until now. He spoke of the pain he carried, how it took him years to trust again, how he thought he had buried her memory forever. And in those shared confessions, something unspoken blossomed. Not romance, not yet, but forgiveness. There was a night when she sat on the couch, clutching a mug of tea, her eyes swollen from tears, and she whispered, "Daniel, I never stopped loving you. I just lost myself. And in losing myself, I lost you too." He didn't answer right away. He didn't know if love could be rekindled from ashes this cold. But he knew this. He couldn't let her drown when he had the power to pull her up. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, Emily found strength again. She started working small jobs, saving money, and even reached out to her estranged sister. Daniel watched her transform, not into the woman she once was, but into someone wiser, softer, more grateful. And in that transformation, he too healed wounds he didn't realize were still open. The story of Daniel and Emily wasn't about rekindling an old romance. It was about rediscovering humanity, forgiveness, and a strange way life gives us chances to be better than we were before. Sometimes, the person who once broke your heart returns not to love you again, but to remind you that love itself is bigger than pain. By the end of the year, Emily had secured her own small apartment. On the day she moved out, she hugged Daniel tightly, tears streaming down her face. "You saved me," she whispered. He shook his head gently, replying, "No, Emily, you saved yourself. I just gave you a place to start again." As he watched her walk away, carrying the weight of her past, but stepping into a new future, Daniel realized something profound. Forgiveness doesn't erase pain, but it transforms it into strength. And sometimes, the people who hurt us the most end up teaching us the most about love, compassion, and what it truly means to be human. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Hopeful Stories. Your engagement helps these powerful lessons of kindness reach more people who need hope in their lives. And before we end, here's a special request. Comment below and tell us, do you believe people deserve second chances, even when they've hurt us deeply? Your words might inspire someone else today. Because at the end of it all, life is not about how many times we fall, but how many times we rise, and sometimes how many times we choose to help someone else rise with us.